voice actor.
I'm just fine. How are you?
I am good. Alright, this is Blind Adam of the Awesomesauce Comics podcast. I'm here with the legendary voice actor, Larrykenny. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm fine, Adam. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's my pleasure.
Yep, how'd you get your start in radio?
Well, I got my start in radio back in my hometown, or actually near my hometown in Illinois, when I was a junior in high school. Actually, right before my junior year in high school year began, I was about to turn 16, and I had been taking a radio class the first 2 years of high school. We were fortunate enough to have a radio class. In fact, we even did a radio show every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It seems incredible now, but back then, I guess I just thought every school had one. This is back in the 60s, 1960, 61, 62. And, yeah, we even did a radio show, a 10-minute show every day over the phone wires on the local radio station. We talked about what the school menu was that day in school's news, and then an interview with maybe an athlete or something like that.
Oh, wow.
So that's how I first got into radio and my first taste of it. And then, like I said, right before my junior year began in 1963, there was an opening at a radio station in Peoria, Illinois, right across the river, much bigger city. And they had done a show for years they called School Scoop, on which they had one student from a Peoria high school and one student from my high school, Beacon High School. It was called the Peoria Beacon School School. And it was like, I think it was only an hour long. Yeah, it was an hour long. It was on Saturday afternoons, I recall. Anyway,
That is very fascinating. So, as I was doing some research, I did not realize you were on amous for as long as you were. What was that experience like?
well, I was with him for 35 years, and it was quite a long ride. From 1973, I started doing this show.
The year I was born.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's why I was laughing. When I was doing the research, I was laughing.
Yeah. He and I had worked in Cleveland at the same time, but not in the same station. He was doing the morning show at one station in Cleveland, Ohio, and I was doing the afternoon show at another station in Cleveland. And then he left to go to New York, and I left to go to a station in Chicago. And he called me one day and said he'd listen to me while we were both in Cleveland and liked the voices and do the impressions, except Kissinger, Kennedy, and all that. And would I be interested in taping stuff on the phone? That he could play on his show. I said, sure. So we did that for a year before I ever met him. Because after a year I moved to New York and we were both here. That's how that got started. And it lasted for 35 years.
And looking back on it, you were one of the voices that actually, during my high school years, helped me get up in the morning almost every morning for at least 3 years.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
Well, it was either amous or if my parents were in the house at that point, I'd be able to sneak on Stern for a little bit.
Okay.
But if they were home, amous was the safer version.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Howard Case did the say we were there.
Yep.
He was the we had been on the air several years at NBC, WNBC, when they hired Howard to do the afternoon show, and then of course he left and went to do his own morning show.
Yep.
Yeah. Long time ago.
Yeah, definitely. So do you have any favorite memories from the amous show?
Oh gosh, there are so many, of course, from so long. One of the great things about doing his show was all the interesting people I got to meet because he had a lot of guests
Imus, but he seemed like he was a really cool cat.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Yeah, he can be a little irascible. He's exactly what you see on the air and hear him on the radio.
It's true. I do remember donating to one of his child charities every so often, so I always thought that was cool.
Sure. Yeah, he got that. He still got the ranch for kids with cancer, and he does some wonderful things for charities.
Yeah. So did you have a favorite, over the course of the time, did you have a favorite impression that you'd like to do on the show?
Well, probably Richard Nixon. That was the very first one I ever did for him back in '73, and I would call him up and say, "I'm a in the morning, I don't know," and then we'd talk about whatever was going on in politics that day,
That's cool. That's awesome. Of course, I think one of the roles you're probably most remembered for is Lionel of the Thundercats. How did that come about?
That came about like most of my work comes about in the voiceover business by audition. My agent called me one day and said, tomorrow at 2 o'clock you're to go to this particular place. And they're auditioning for a new animated show called Thundercats. And you show up at your time, whatever your scheduled time is to audition, and they showed us pictures of the characters and gave us a synopsis of what the show was about, and then asked us, pick a couple of characters you want to audition for. And then when it was my turn, I went into the booth and gave them an idea of what I thought Lionel should sound like. And I think I auditioned for Jackalman too. I think, of course, I did because I ended up doing those characters as well as hundreds of others during the long series. Well, 130 episodes.
Which I actually had a burned copy of the DVD I picked up before a long time ago when it was still a bootleg darling at a convention.
What happened?
I actually have a copy of a DVD of all 130 episodes, which I'm staring at right as we're talking.
Oh, great, yes, that's wonderful, yeah. It's on DVD, and that's great because the quality is still great and will never deteriorate.
What do you think, this is like a two-parter, what do you think, made Thundercats stand out, and what do you think made it, why everyone is still a huge fan of it like 30 plus years later?
Yeah. Well, people have told me over the years that they liked it so much when they were kids because it gave them a moral compass. There was that code of Thundera, truth, loyalty,
justice, honor.
Honor, that's right. And I've received so many letters and emails over the years, and of course I meet people at Comic-Con and appearances that tell me that's what they liked a lot about the show, was the fact that all the other shows back then were, Masters of the Universe and He-Man and She-Ra and all those. There were a lot of shows, a lot of good shows on, but Thundercats was actually came about because Jules Rankin and Jules Bass and I forget Mr. Rankin's first name. The company was called Rankin Bass Productions, and they created Thundercats in an effort to comply with the new regulations that were coming out, limiting violence on children's programming, and that's another thing that made it different, was that Thundercats, there were some battles, and fights and things, but they always tried to work things out peacefully first, and the main goal was to...
Actually, the two things that I always loved about the Thundercats, and I told you this at JurissyCon, is one, there was a blind Thundercat.
Yes.
And I just started losing my eyesight when I discovered it too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I have a condition called retinitis pigmentosa, which is a degenerative retina condition. 2 days after I got diagnosed at the age of 12, that 2-hour Thundercats thing came out on Fox, and there's a blind Thundercat. And to a 12-year-old kid, I was just like, alright, being blind is business, so it can't be that bad.
Oh, that's great. So you can certainly relate to that.
Yeah, and then the other thing I always loved about the show, there's like He-Man or G.I. Joe or something. The Thundercats were basically a family.
That's right. They were more of a family, yeah, than just a group of people thrown together.
Yeah, like even the villains, were kind of like a family in their own way too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like a group of people lumped in together. And the concepts were cool. Yeah, like Mumra. I think as I was doing research, I was imitating, as I was play fighting with my dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that, and it had, like you said, it did have that really beautiful moral compass.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of people have told me that that gave them, an idea of how to live their own lives, and that means a lot to me to this day when people mention that, because it makes me proud of being on the show. I mean, there are a lot of things that I've done that, you do things for money, obviously, to make a living, but and we made money from Thundercats naturally, but I'm very proud of the show.
No, and of course, because my girlfriend wanted me to ask this question, I'm going to have to ask it. Are the Thundercat outtakes real?
The Thundercat outtakes?
Yeah, I watched them about 20 times today, and, and I think they're hysterical.
Well, the funny thing about that is back when we were producing the show back in the 80s, there was no internet, and there was the only people who would ever hear those outtakes were those of us in the studio, who were recording them, and the engineers who were listening, and the producers, and the people in the control room. But we always were aware that in our business, whenever something's being recorded by a bunch of actors, there are going to be outtakes. Somebody makes a mistake and somebody else makes a joke about it. And we always knew the engineers probably kept what we used to call Christmas party tapes, because we figured that we just knew that we could just imagine a recording engineer saying to his friends at a Christmas party, "Hey, you want to hear what it sounded like when we recorded Thundercats?" And then they would play it for him, But they never got to a wide audience. So all of a sudden, here comes the internet, and somebody puts those up there, and the whole world hears it.
Yeah, because all of a sudden, I'll never forget it. My brother at the time, he's just like, "You got to see this thing with the Thundercats," and that's all I heard is, "What the F is a subflash?"
Camouflage, that's right.
No, I think what they do is just, don't know who it is, it's just, I want to see him walk the effing plank. It's like Mumra or something, and then it's like Petro drunk, and in my head it's like, they're just down there, and I think as a teenager that you just like imagine in your own fan fiction.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make. The show was fun to make.
And then just to watch Lionel tell Snarf to shut the F up, it's probably like something I always wanted to see happen in the real Thundercats just once.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
How was it working with Bob?
With who?
With the guy who voiced Snarf, how was...
Snarf? Well, that was Bob McFadden. That was wonderful. Bob was a wonderful guy. He and I worked together on a lot of things. Bob McFadden, he has passed away.
Yeah. He actually one of my heroes growing up.
We worked together on Thundercats, and then another Rankin Bass show called Silverhawks, and then we worked on Tiger Sharks.
That's my entire childhood right there.
And then Bob
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, with strawberry flavored marshmallows. So we used to do commercials together.
Which we now only get once a year for some reason.
Yeah, I know. You know, same with Count Chocula now. They only put those out once a year. I think at Halloween time.
Yep. That's because that's the only time I can get them.
Yeah.
You know, what was it like bringing the character of Lionel back on Thundercat on Family Guy?
Oh, on Family Guy. Well, you know, that's a funny story because I had been watching Family Guy for years and loved the show. It's a funny show. I think it's like Marlins and Genius. But when I got the call from my agent saying that they wanted to use me on use Lionel on the show and have me do it, I said, no, I don't think I want to. Because, you know, I feel very protective of the legacy of Thundercats. And while I think Family Guy is extremely funny, I was afraid that Thundercats fans wouldn't like, you know, Lionel being involved in the kind of situations that they had on Family Guy. It was actually my son who talked me into doing it. He said, Dad, the Thundercats fans are 30 years old now. They're not 7 years old anymore, you know? They're going to love this. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I did one episode. It only lasted about a minute and a half or 2 minutes, but it was very funny.
Did you also do the Lionel bits on Robot Chicken?
No, I was not on Robot Chicken. I don't know who did that.
It was really accurate. As I was doing research for the interview, I was like, you know, it sounded pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, but that wasn't me.
Oh, wow.
At least I didn't get any money. I didn't get any check for it, so I don't think it was me.
You didn't get your check, the agent didn't get their 10%, so probably not.
That's right.
So, what's it like working with your children? Because I know your son did Grand Theft Auto. I know that your daughter has done stuff in one of my favorite MTV shows of all time, The State.
Yeah, that's right. Carrie was in The State and lots of other shows, Viva Variety, Reno 911, of course, and now she's on Two Broke Girls.
Wait, that's her?
She's been on it. She's not one of the main cast, but she's appeared. She was on it last week, and she's going to be on it next week.
I'm not caught up yet, so I'm actually up to last week's episode, so cool.
Yeah, Carrie and I have never actually worked together. I used to go to a lot of the tapings at The State and Reno 911. Not Reno, just The State. Viva Variety. But we've never actually done a commercial or anything together. My son Tanner and I, as you mentioned, we're both on Grand Theft Auto 4, I think it was.
Yeah, at least according to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Like I said, I actually starting this podcast is the coolest gig in the world for me right now because it's giving me an excuse to just, you know, go on YouTube and Wikipedia for like 3-4 hours at a shot.
Uh-huh.
You know, so I got to rewatch a lot of old, you know, like Thundercats and Silverhawks and,
Oh, great.
you know, even those the Thundercat bloopers. I haven't seen those in years. So I was like a little kid. I think I watched an hour and 20 minutes worth of Cocoa Puff commercials.
You're kidding.
Well, when we met at TorthiCon, you know, when you do that impersonation with you was my favorite convention memory of almost all time.
I remember that. That was at Terrificon, I think, wasn't it?
Yep.
New Jersey?
At Mohegan Sun.
What's that?
It was the convention up at the Mohegan Sun.
Oh, Mohegan Sun.
Yeah.
Oh, the Terrificon. That's right. That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's where we met.
Yeah, and like I said, that's one of my favorite convention memories of all time. As a comedian and someone who's I'm actually going to be taking some voice-over classes over at the Edge in New York now.
Great.
You know, just to be able to do that and have one of my heroes just give me a stamp of approval was one of my favorite memories that I had at a convention in the last couple of years.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's right when I started the podcast around that time too. So.
I remember.
Yeah, like I said, are you gonna be at Mitch's convention this year?
Well, I don't have any scheduled right now, no. I haven't done any for several months, and I probably will be in terrific town again in Weekend Sun in August, because I live right near here, right near there in that area. But as of right now, I don't have anything scheduled.
Oh, wow, cool. Like I said, if I'm on this side of the country and not in Denver at the Colorado Center for the Blind, I'm definitely, definitely stop by and actually get a Cocoa Puff box this time around.
Alright, I'd love to see you again.
Yep, that. And last but not least, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in the voiceover world?
Well, as you mentioned, you're taking classes, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I always advise people. If you want to get in the voiceover business, first of all, if you're still in school, if you're young and you're going still in high school or whatever, in college, take as many speech classes as you can at school, whether it's public speaking or if they have a broadcasting class or something like that. Some of them do. Be in a play. See if you can be the PA announcer guy at the football games. Anything like that. Just take advantage of what you can. While you're in school. Beyond that, if you're a little older, I always suggest going to classes. You can Google in your area voice acting classes, voiceover classes, and you'll find a list of them in whatever area you live in, and take some classes. And that way, when you finish the class, you'll have a demo reel, we call it, a CD of what you can do that they've helped you make during the course of the program. And you'll also, the better classes offer during the course of the 10 or 12 weeks that you're going to school, a couple nights a week maybe, or for a couple hours, they'll bring in people from the voiceover business, from casting agents to advertising agency people, commercial producers and people like that. So it'll be a good chance to kind of network with people in the business. And then once you're finished, you'll have that demo reel that shows what you can do, and you're all ready to be a voiceover guy or girl.
Nice. That's awesome. Let's see, that almost, I think that is, everything, and I really want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank you for the memories, and I want to thank you for being so gracious with your time and knowledge today.
It's been my pleasure, Adam. It's great talking to you again.
Yep, it's great talking to you. Hope to see you at a convention sometime in the future, Larry. Take care.
Me too, buddy.
All right.
Take care of yourself.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay.
All right, man.
It was fun. Thank you.
Take picture 45%. Stop recording video button.